minutes past the hour of 10 a.m. Apologies for the lateness. Got troubled this morning with, you know, unusual morning routine. So I had to go through that. Anyways, but it's a pleasure to be back, and I hope you will join us for this morning's broadcast as we discuss once again the latest from the world of football. Welcome back from that wonderful, UEFA Champions League night on match day 4 of the Champions League this season, where we did witness a lot of good things. So many brilliant results, so many brilliant individual performances, so many lacking performances from certain sides. But overall, I think those that got the victories will take the victories as they came, while those who got the losses will have a lot to reflect on going into match day 5 that will come in the aftermath of the November international break. So allow me to have our audios tested, make sure everything does check out before we proceed with this broadcast. So like I said, plenty to talk about for us on this beautiful Wednesday morning. And I must say, were there some surprises on the night? Not really, not that much, if we're being honest. But I thought, we'll be discussing Mikel Merino, who I thought filled the void perfectly well for Victor Gyokeres. I will look at Liverpool. They were too good for Real Madrid, and then Bayern Munich had to grind it out against PSG. It was a 10-man Bayern Munich. The goal scorer for Bayern Munich had to be forced off through a red card, while PSG's injury worries continued, as Akraf Hakimi suffered a very, very nasty injury following a bad tackle from Luis Diaz. So we'll be looking at that in a bit. So without wasting any further ado, let's get into it. Because, it was on the backdrop of a very, very wonderful night. We will start things off with Arsenal, who managed to yet again win another game of football without conceding a goal. There were scares for this Arsenal side that they were on the verge of conceding, or that they had conceded a goal. I think that was because they thought they had conceded a penalty for a foul by Ben White, who came on as a substitute for UN Timber, but it turned out to be not to be a foul. In other words, it was a foul on him rather than a foul against the Slavia Praha player. So thanks to VAR, that decision was overturned, as had been the case in the first half when Bukayo Saka took that penalty quite strictly. But the result of that was a handball, which the referee had missed, and it was upon VAR who saw that there had been a handball in the build-up to that moment. And so Arsenal got awarded that penalty, which Bukayo Saka stepped up and scored in the 32nd minute. The goalkeeper went the right direction, but the ball was just slightly far beyond him, so he was unable to get to it. That means Bukayo Saka scored. I think became the first player to score for Arsenal in 4 consecutive away UEFA Champions League matches. So that's another record. So it was a night when Arsenal were setting or equaling or breaking records. And they did equal their record that is 122 years old. That's as far back as 1903, when they kept 8 clean sheets consecutively. Because yesterday's game, the 3-0 victory over Slavia Praha meant that that's 8 clean sheets in a row for the Gunners. And so that was another record echoed or set. Then also the other record is we saw Max Dorman come on to become the youngest player to ever feature in the UEFA Champions League at the age of about 15 years and a couple of days therein. So Arsenal were setting records, and breaking records on the same side. Then in the second half, in as early as the second half, we had Mikel Merino double Arsenal's lead with a brilliant goal. Sort of mid-range kind of cross floated in by Leandro Trossard. Jumps and puts a foot on it, and it hits the back of the net. And then in the 68th minute, the goalkeeper misjudged the flight of the ball, perhaps, as Mikel Merino headed on his back head, like your hind head, almost a blind eye. He was literally not looking at that ball as he heads it past the goalkeeper to hit the back of the net to make it 3-0 for the Arsenal. Beautiful game of football. I thought the referee gave away one too many yellow cards. Some I did not agree with them. Particularly the yellow card for Mikel Merino. I thought he had not watched the foul properly to pass judgment that is necessary to give a yellow card in that particular incident. But because the opponent player sort of exaggerated the incident, because he barely touches him, by the way, even though he goes in with the tackle. He made it look like he had been really, really hardly tackled, tackled really hard, and then you had the referee issue that yellow card. So then there was another couple of yellow cards that you felt that's a bit soft, and you felt that in some moments, you thought he overblew that whistle. It's a man's game. Sometimes, for those that watch, Slavia Prague, say they are that kind of, aside a bit, very physical, a bit nasty about their goings and things like that. So, and yet we know that Arsenal, present day, are no strangers to that kind of football. They will take you on if you want a physical duel. But yeah, it was a good performance. The substitutes didn't do much. Declan Rice was, quietly good. Christian Nogat, as he sort of builds momentum with, more minutes being picked up on, he looked okay. Then Gabriel Magalhaes and William Saliba were largely untroubled. Piero Hincap, in the faster, I think, moments, he looked sort of to struggle a little bit in a way, but he settled into the game. So at the end of the day, it was another comfortable performance, another comfortable victory for Arsenal. More of a clean kind of performance in that sense. I think there's a couple of minutes, especially at the start of the game, where they really, really struggled to stamp their imprint on the game, their foot on the game, because they felt a little all over the place. They're conceding possession, and they were stringing the passes they were trying to string up were not really connecting in the manner that you would have hoped for them to be going, or in that regard, or in that sense. So, but at the end of the day, they managed to come away with all 3 points, and quite another very important victory. When you look at the ball possession, they edged it to the tune of 57% compared to 43%. Then they had 8 shots on target compared to Slavia Prague's only 1 shot on target. So it was that kind of game, typical of what we've seen Arsenal do in recent times, limiting the damage from the opponent, really trying to be as effective as they can be on the other side of the pitch, and basically that's what they did. So there's not much really that you can blame on Arsenal's performance on the evening. So it was a clean performance as they won their 4th consecutive game in the UEFA Champions League without conceding a goal. So I thought that was really important. In the other earlier kickoff, you had Napoli and Eintracht Frankfurt share the spoils in a goalless draw, while in the subsequent games, Tottenham Hotspur put 4 past Copenhagen. Tottenham Hotspur had to complete that game with a Mendes following Brennan Johnson's red card. Brennan Johnson did score to open the scoring for Tottenham Hotspur, while Wilson Odegaard, João Paulinho and Mickey van der Ven were the other goal scorers on the night. Richarlison missed a penalty that could have given Tottenham the 5th goal on the night. So yeah, then in the other games, Atletico de Madrid beat up against Union Saint-Gilloise by 3-1, while Bodo Glimt lost to AC Monaco by 0-0. That goal scored by Florian Balogun. Dusan Vlahovic's equalizer was enough to help Juventus pick a point in Luciano Spalletti's 2nd game. Things are not really going down well for Juventus at the moment, even though they won over the weekend, I think by 2-1. And then Olympiacos and PSV Eindhoven, those ones shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. And then at Anfield, Real Madrid got beat by Liverpool by a 0-0. But what a performance from Thibaut Courtois on the night, despite their loss. What a performance. I think he had as many as should have had as many as 7 or 8 brilliant saves in that game. Liverpool had 9 shots on target. They really tested Thibaut Courtois, attempting after attempting, and he just rose to the challenge. And it was that one, a unique moment where he gets beaten by Alexis McAllister's header, which went through right in between his arms. Of course, the resultant free kick following a foul by Jude Bellingham around near the 18 yards box. And then Dominic Szoboszlai floated in the free kick, and McAllister put his head to it, and that's how they were able to beat Real Madrid. But I thought it was a very brilliant performance from Liverpool. That midfield, they controlled things in terms of winning the ball back. There were so many loose passes from Real Madrid. Real Madrid were dominant on the ball in terms of possession to the tune of 61% compared to Liverpool's 39%. But that did not count. They could not make that count. Not at one bit, not in one moment, really. They hardly troubled Georgi Mamadashvili. They had only 2 attempts on goal. Those came at the tail end of the first half, and he sort of cleaned himself those, and he remained untroubled for the better part of the game. Through the first half and in the second half entirely. That's how well Liverpool defended. I thought Ibrahim Konate and Virgil van Dijk had a brilliant game. I thought, for me, Conor Bradley was my man of the match, how he managed to neutralize the threat of Vinicius Jr. He won every battle 1v1 against the Brazilian, and you could almost not believe it. It's the kind of game that in which Kylian Mbappe sort of lost his boots on the night. Everything he tried, the dribbles, the attempts to try and shoot from distance, all did not work out. There's an attempt he had trying to slice the ball as soon with the first touch, but it went out of the wide of the mark and things like that. So on paper and in everything they did, I thought Liverpool were by far the better side. I thought they deserved the victory. If it had not been for Thibaut Courtois, perhaps the result we'll be discussing now will be much different. I think the goal margin would have been more than just one. But Thibaut Courtois stood tall, making, I think, a hat-trick of saves from attempts by Dominic Szoboszlai. And then McAllister tested him. Hugo Ekitike, I think, also tested him with a couple of headers, And, yeah, it was that kind of performance. Then Mo Salah equally tested him, and, they were just sitting a dead end after dead end because Thibaut Courtois was quite brilliant on the night. It's the kind of game where you would have no trouble whatsoever giving the man of the match award performance to a player from the losing side in Thibaut Courtois. That's how good he was on the night. But like I said, Conor Bradley for me stood tall on the other side. I thought Andy Robertson looked really good. Florian Wirtz had an okay game, one of his better performances in a Liverpool jersey. Then Gravenberch and McAllister in that midfield, I thought they did well because Florian Wirtz started playing off the left wing. Mo Salah, had his moments as well. As the game wore on, he started getting better and better at beating Alvaro Carreras Fernandez, who was playing at left back for Real Madrid. So, yeah, they completed that 1-0 victory against Real Madrid, which is the second consecutive victory for Liverpool at Anfield against Real Madrid. Last season, they managed to beat them by 2-0. Alexander Trent-Arnold, we saw him return to Anfield for the first time since his departure from the club. Yes, LFC, how are you doing, my brother? Good morning. How is your beautiful morning? I understand it's about 7:42 a.m. that side. For us, it's 10:42 a.m. And then the reason as to why perhaps you've been able to chip in on this one is because we started it very late. We started after 10, But anyways, it's always a pleasure to have you around. So, Alexander Trent Arnold again treated with booze as he got substituted on, and then every touch he had on that ball, he continued to be booed. And something like I've said this before, it does not sit well with me as a football enthusiast that Liverpool fans get to boo a player of Alexander Trent Arnold's caliber for everything he did for a club that he obviously loves, a club that he grew up within, a club that he helped win major honors, and then suddenly he said, I think I've come at that age where I need to explore my options elsewhere, where I need to have a new challenge. And that new challenge so far has not been easy on him if you continue to follow him. LFC says his morning is going on well. Thanks for asking. So, yeah, he was bored. The reception for him wasn't pleasing, but it is what it is. We shall always refer to Liverpool as the bitter exes. You know when you leave a partner and they just do not believe that you actually left them. They will never acknowledge that you left them for a better person or for the right reasons. And yeah, it's basically just that. And that's how we can describe it for Liverpool's case. And anyways, let's leave that. But I thought it was a very, very brilliant performance from that Liverpool side. Quickly, away from Liverpool, okay, maybe briefly, I don't know, how did I forget to mention this about, Arsenal? Just slightly backwards. Let's track a little bit back to the Arsenal game. I know we had tackled it in the first a moment here, but I thought Mikel Merino did well to fit in to represent Victor Gyokeres, who is out injured. And yes, well, I touched on that, but the very, very big concerns within the Arsenal camp that the injury to Victor Gyokeres may be worse than first feared. That it could be more than just a tightness in his hamstring, in his muscle, and it could actually be a hamstring. It's going to be assessed further throughout the course of this week and see whether he can return just in time for the Sunderland game. But I would say to Arsenal, perhaps, maybe do not force it. If you think you should be concerned, then leave him out of the Sunderland game. Why risk him for one game and then lose him for a month and a half or even two, especially when you're going to go into a very, very crucial period of the season because after the international break of November, it's a marathon of fixtures. It's game after game. December is the busiest you will ever have. In as far as the Premier League is concerned, I've never understood why they've never embraced the sort of winter break. They tried to embrace it, I think, in the 2023-2024 campaign where teams were taking 2 weeks off. Even the subsequent season, which was last season. We do not know what's going to happen this season, but we'll wait to see on the arrangement of fixtures in that time. But it's going to be a barrage of fixtures, game in, game out. So you will need to have all your players fully fit, and having Victor Gyokeres in and around the team during that period will be very, very crucial to that Arsenal side. Anyways, let's leave that. Move on to briefly. I told you about Atletico Madrid's, Victor against Union St. Cloisy, but it was Julian Alvarez who scored. Conor Gallagher and Marcos Llorente. Antoine Griezmann had his goal cancelled out by VAR. Now, in the other big game of the night, we saw Bayern Munich beat up against PSG. PSG had a very regrettable performance in as far as their first half was concerned. They defended poorly. They were all over the place in terms of their defending. They lost their shape. They lost their grit in that first half, and they conceded 2 avoidable goals on a given day. Luis Diaz in the 4th minute was on target, and again in the 32nd minute he was on target. Of course, there were other missed opportunities in between those moments until the tail end of the first half, with Serge Gnabry hitting the best of the upright on the inside. So and then that ball bounced back into play. And yeah, they had other moments. On the other side, Ousmane Dembele in the 23rd minute thought he had restored parity for his PSG side, but that goal was ruled out by VAR. Initially, he looks to be offside before the ball gets played, and because the defender drifts back, I thought he was going to be considered onside, but the goal ended up being ruled out. Then, at the tail end of the first half, Luis Diaz committed an unnecessary challenge on Achraf Hakimi that saw him, I think, twist his ankle while at it, and he had to be withdrawn in that game. Very, very sort of very unnice incident. The referee was called to the monitor to review the incident. He reviewed the incident of Luis Diaz's challenge on Achraf Hakimi, and he ended up dishing a red card that was in the 3rd minute of stoppage time in the first stanza. So that meant that Bayern Munich had to play an entirety of 45 minutes in the second half with a man less. I thought, one, that PSG could use their numerical advantage to at least restore parity in this game and perhaps even do better. But Bayern Munich were too good for them. Bayern Munich really, really defended well. They dug in deep. Dayot Upamecano, I think, had arguably one of his best performances in a Bayern Munich jersey. Jonathan Tah right up there with him, and all the others. Joshua Kimmich had a very, very, wonderful performance. The likes of Michael Olise on the night were good. In that second half, of course, PSG pinged Bayern Munich back for majority of the time but goals were not coming. I remember, for those of you that were part of our second half watch along for that game, you remember me urging PSG to try and go from distance and try to beat Manuel Neuer. Now, Neuer was equally very good in that goal. PSG attempted, to shoot from distance. It was block after block, block after block, and those balls that managed to go through were either wide of the mark or, Manuel Neuer was able to collect comfortably. And it took, I think, in the 74th minute for second half substitute Joao Neves to head to score to make it 2-1. To pull one back for PSG. In that moment, you felt that they were spirited to try and fight for it, and indeed they tried to fight for it. But in the end, it was never meant to be. It just couldn't count. It just couldn't stand, and it finished 2-1 in favor of Bayern Munich, who Arsenal will be playing on match day 5 of the UEFA Champions League. They remain one of the perfect sides. And as far as this season is UEFA Champions League side is concerned, it will be the ultimate test for that Arsenal side, who have managed to keep clean sheet after clean sheet, but also I think have now won 9 consecutive games across all competitions. So, and yet Bayern Munich on the other side have won 16 games across all competitions. They are unbeaten this season. Will it be Arsenal that will inflict on them their first defeat of the season, or will it be Bayern Munich that will stand in the way of Arsenal's momentum? Sorry, Robert, I have a tiny bit of homework to do. I get to it, my brother. I wish you the best of luck on that one. So we will see in the aftermath of the international break who will be well prepared for the other. Of course, it is speculated that after the international break, Arsenal will be welcoming back some of their injured stars, the likes of Martin Odegaard, the likes of the likes of Kai Havertz will be in and around that team. But Luis Diaz, of course, will be suspended for that game following his red card against PSG. So I do not know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But of course, Bayern Munich are not short of players that can, destroy you. They have players like, of course, Michael Olise, Hurricane, Serge Gnabry. There's a young boy called Carl. He's in there. So really, I mean, you just have it a lot. You have it all to do when it comes to that. Anyways, so but let's wait and see. We will get to that fixture when the time comes. I will be reminding you some of the things that I did say. Anyways, so that's what's up. I think Vincent Company is doing wonders, really many wonders. In as far as you will need I thought Vincent Company has drilled that team really well. Apologies, I was trying to appeal through a certain output here, an announcement from the National Identification and Regulatory Authority, NIRA. They put out some information that I thought was critical. Anyways, that's all besides the point. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. So Liverpool have clicked back into that momentum at the right time. Anyways, yes, I was saying about Liverpool. Liverpool seem to be clicking back in momentum. If you take that performance that they had, by the way, the performance they had against Real Madrid was a much better performance than the one they had against Aston Villa over the weekend, a game which they managed to win by 2-0. So it looks like they used that victory against Aston Villa, as a stepping stone, as the encouragement going into the Real Madrid game, and they won really well. They played really well. If they can carry on like that, then really, then it's going to be impressive. They're going to be impressive to watch, and they will win many games. They will win many games in as far as to more, the subsequent fixtures are come. But let's not forget, over the weekend they're going to be in action against Manchester City. That in itself is going to be a very big game. We will get to discuss it at the right time. But for now, let's focus again on the UEFA Champions League, because action does continue tonight, with more games to come. 2 games come in the early kickoff at 8:45 p.m. That's at about 5:45 p.m. European time. And Pafos will be at home against Villarreal, but our focus will be on that Chelsea game against Qarabağ. Chelsea are also starting to build their own momentum, following those victories against Nottingham Forest and Tottenham Hotspur. And now, after that, we'll have Ajax up against Galatasaray at 11 p.m. We'll have Benfica up against Bayer Leverkusen. Benfica have lost their first 2 games under the charges of Jose Mourinho, losing to Chelsea by 1-0, while losing to Newcastle by 3-0 there. So let's wait and see how things will turn out. On that front as well this time around. Can they, return to winning ways in as far as the UEFA Champions League is concerned? Then Club Brugge will be up against Barcelona. We'll be, keeping tabs. We will be keeping tabs on that. And then Inter Milan will be up against Kairat Almaty. Then Manchester City will be our main event. Manchester City will be up against Borussia Dortmund, while Olympique Marseille will be taking on Atlanta. Newcastle will be up against Athletic Bilbao. So Newcastle have had a brilliant start to life in the UEFA Champions League, winning. They've lost 1 in the opening 3, have won 2, and that loss came against Barcelona. So they get to play Bilbao. Let's wait and see. Bilbao have, I don't know, under Ernesto Valverde this season, things have not yet to happen the way they would have hoped for them to happen. So we will wait and see what kind of performance that they are able to deliver. But when you look at the standings, Bilbao is one of the teams that are way down in 25th. They've only won 1 game this season. Newcastle 11th on that log with 2 victories, like I've told you, with 6 points. So they will be looking to make it 9 and rise to the equivalence of teams like and go ahead of the likes of Atletico de Madrid, Qarabag, Galatasaray, and rise to the ranks of, and rise actually above Tottenham Hotspurs. Yes, above Tottenham Hotspurs, above teams like maybe they'll be equal on points with the likes of Real Madrid, with the likes of Liverpool. That's what's up in as far as the fixtures go in the UEFA Champions League for match day 4 that will be continuing your way. Anyways, what else? I think we've tackled on it. We've had to, brush through it all, but yeah, that was the gist of the conversation from last night in as far as, keeping tabs with some of your favorite teams go in the UEFA Champions League. So many beautiful performances. Do not forget, I want to appreciate all of you that are supporting our call for improving on our watch time. Those of you that are watching our videos to the full length of them, I will be looking to do some recorded shows in the coming days, perhaps more during the international break and things like that. But yeah, we're trying to reach out to some people and see if we can get for you more interviews to bring to you. But we'll see how that goes down. Keep positive. Thanks for always watching. To our new subscribers, we say welcome to the community. We hope that you enjoy your stay. Keep supporting what we do. Keep loving what we do. We'll look to do more shots and stuff like that. And see. But thank you so much for all of you that keep watching everything that we have to offer in as far as this channel is concerned. Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.